Uh, uh. Good morning. Good morning.
What's up, everybody? Morning Deuce. It's Monday, July 18th. How's everybody doing? Hopefully the answer's good. It's a rhetorical question. You can't answer me even if you want to. Good weekend for me. Outside, got to a baseball game, a lot of things, a lot of great things. And an interesting week ahead. It is the Republican National Convention, aka the crowning of Donald Trump for the Republican Party. But as I know, several reporters who are going to Cleveland or are already there now and are preparing for this event, there's some interesting safety restrictions in place. There are 72 things you cannot have outside the convention center, the Q, where the Cleveland Cavaliers play, but you can have a gun because it's an open state in Ohio. They released a list of the 72 things that you can't have in the event zone. I'm going to list them because it's pretty crazy. You cannot have lumber larger than 2 inches thick in width and 2 inches in width and 1/4 of an inch thick, including supports for signs. So basically, no thick wood. Yeah, I said it. Metal, plastic, or other hard material larger than 3/4 inch thick or 1/8 of an inch in wall thickness, including pipe and tubing. So no metal, no wood. You can't have, keep in mind, you can have regular guns, but you cannot have air rifles, air pistols, or paintball guns, blasting caps, switchblade knives, automatic knives, knives having a blade 2.5 inches in length or longer. So I guess that means like small plastic knives are the only ones that make sense. Something called cestices, which I had to actually look up, and a cestus is an ancient battle glove, sometimes used in pancreation, whatever that means. But apparently they were worn like boxing gloves, but they had like spikes in them. So, or something like that. Maybe it was like metallic. Either way, you can't have those. So if you're like a real life Dungeons and Dragons person attacking people with ancient battle gloves, you cannot do it outside the Republican convention, unfortunately. You cannot have billy clubs, which I guess isn't that just like a baton? You cannot have blackjacks, something, again, that I had to look up because I thought they were making it so you couldn't play the gambling game blackjack, but that's an actual, like, club, like a nightstick type thing. So basically you can't bring a nightstick. Which you would think would have fallen in the metal or plastic category, but just FYI. You can't bring swords, sabers, hatchets, axes, slingshots, BB guns, pellet guns. Now keep in mind, we already did air rifles, so I think pellet gun is sort of a type of air rifle. And then all of these other things have like the wood qualifications, but you can't bring any of those. You can't bring wrist shots, whatever that means. I'm assuming that's something that shoots something out of your wrist. Metal knuckles, nunchucks, mace. That's weird because if I was a hot young lady at a Republican National Convention, I might be rocking some mace, just saying. Iron buckles, okay. Axe handles. Now, keep in mind, axes was number 16, but number 25 on this list is axe handles. So you not only can you not bring an axe, you can't bring the thing that you would hold said axe, even if the axe isn't part of it. Shovels, fireworks, this is real stuff. Rockets, can't bring rockets to the outside of the National Convention in case you were, throwing a party. Sound amplification equipment, drones, containers of bodily fluids, aerosol cans, pepper spray and other chemical irritants, which I'm pretty sure is mace, so I don't know why they said it separately, but pepper spray and other medical or chemical irritants, umbrellas with metal tips. That's a thing. You can take guns outside the conventions in an open carry state, but they won't let you have an umbrella with a metal tip. Water guns, in case that wasn't covered in all the other fake guns, water cannons, ropes longer than 6 feet, chains longer than 6 feet, cables longer than 6 feet, strappings, wires, strings, lines, tape, all longer than 6 feet. You cannot have 6 feet of tape. Now, here it gets interesting. Glass bottles. I'm not really sure how they're going to enforce that, but apparently you can't have a glass bottle in front of the event zone. Ornaments. Yep. Ornaments in case you were doing Christmas in July party in the parking lot of the RNC. Light bulbs. Can't see why anyone would need those. Ceramic vessels, padlocks, or bicycle locking devices. Not a bike-friendly community in Cleveland, apparently. Chain locks, gas masks. Now, this part makes a little sense, I think, because they don't want people camping out. They don't want tents, sleeping bags, sleeping pads, mattresses, cots, hammocks, bivy sacks. Now, this is the part I don't get. Stoves. You really had to put on the list, don't bring a stove. Like, is someone attacking someone with a stove? They're like, I was going to fight that guy with my bare hands, but I was going to beat him up with my cestises, my ancient boxing gloves, but instead I'm just going to stove him to death. Can't bring a stove. That's off the agenda now. Coolers, ice chests, excessively large backpacks, I'm almost done, lasers, non-plastic containers, bottles, cans, or thermoses. So apparently you can't bring a metal thermos. Ladders, grappling hooks, sledgehammers, regular hammers, crowbars. Now these last two are pretty good. Canned goods. You cannot bring canned goods. So if you were bringing your metal thermos, your bike lock, your glass bottle, and your canned goods, you're super illegal. And number 72 on this list, tennis balls. I guess they had a problem with explosive devices hidden in tennis balls. So no tennis balls. Guess you'll just have to hide that in every other ball that you can bring or anything else you want. Pretty much an asinine list. So yeah, good to see that the heightened level of security given the state of affairs recently has precluded a very important and thorough list from the RNC about what to not have near the facility. It's going to be an interesting week. And then the next week is the Democrats, and I'm sure their list will be equally weird. We'll have some good stuff to look forward to. I'm sure Mr. Trump will give us podcast topics to talk about following his big celebration in Cleveland, which most of the speakers are members of his family. So that'll be interesting. Also heard this hilarious thing from Tim Tebow where Trump said Tebow was speaking, and then Tebow was in the Philippines on a mission trip or like some type of humanitarian trip and came back and all of a sudden heard that he was speaking at the RNC and supposedly had not agreed to this and had no idea how the rumor started and was like, yeah, I'm not doing that. So somehow he just got volunteered for that just to get the buzz going, keep the buzz moving. Tim Tebow, keep the buzz moving. So, yeah. Completely switching gears, I read a very interesting article on 538, which is great. If you don't know the website, it's a good one. It has Nate Silver, who's obviously a great elections predictor. And if you know me, you know that I'm interested in applied statistics, just sort of like interesting, quirky ways where statistics make things more efficient in your life. This one is all about movie reviews, and it was basically put out because of the movie Ghostbusters, the reboot, which is all women. And it was saying that all the internet movie rating sites are pretty flawed, like Fandango and Rotten Tomatoes and IMDb. And I know people who religiously follow the ratings. First, it said that Fandango basically artificially inflates the ratings of every movie because they sell you tickets through the website. So they just literally artificially inflate everything. Then they were saying that IMDb's user base, there's a huge gender skew in the voting. Male users are significantly more likely to rate television shows that are geared towards a female audience, and they rate them significantly lower than women rate TV shows geared at a male audience. They're less likely to rate them, and they're less likely to rate them lower. So they're saying that kind of skews it. But basically, they used Ghostbusters as an example. The average user rating for Ghostbusters on IMDb, they give it 4.1 out of 10. The average male user gave it 3.6 out of 10. The average female user, 7.7 out of 10. So there's so many more male users that it dragged down the numbers significantly. And there was a 4-point gap between male and female users in how they rated this movie, which I think is kind of crazy. And the worst thing was the movie wasn't even out yet, so hardly that many people had seen it when all these reviews came in. I think it's this sort of weird situation where if you are a guy and you don't like the movie, you're like sexist because why don't you support women? Women can be Ghostbusters too. But then if you do like the movie, you're kind of like hating on the original. It's almost not okay, I feel like, to like the sequel of a movie that's as immortal as Ghostbusters. So it's a weird spot to be in. I'm just going to be honest. It's a weird spot to be in. And then it goes on to talk about Rotten Tomatoes, which is a pretty popular movie ranking site. And with Rotten Tomatoes, basically with the audience score, you either say yes or no. And then they give you a fresh or not fresh. But you can also give a ranking number, but only the yes or no matters. So the film is 74% enjoyed. The film, so it gets a certified fresh. But of the audience, the average score was 6.5. Well, critics, a significant amount of the critics didn't enjoy the film. They said they didn't like it, but the average score they gave was 6.3. So the critic score is don't go, because that's more people are saying don't go than go. The crowd score is saying go, 74% saying go, it's worth watching. But the actual, there's only a 0.2 difference between the scoring system. It's just the way the website works. It's black and white with the categories of every vote, that it doesn't really give you a good perception of whether or not the movie's good. I just thought this was all interesting. I'm the type of person that if I think about watching a movie on Netflix and it's a Netflix original, I'll flip up IMDb and Rotten Tomatoes and look and see which, if that movie did better than another one I'm thinking about. But maybe it's not a great comparison system. Maybe it's just all we have. I mean, it's always hit or miss for me, but I know people who use it religiously. Just thought the data behind it made a little bit more sense to me. I still think Rotten Tomatoes is the best, but you kind of have to dig into it a little bit. You can't just look at it in 2 seconds. Anyway, it's the end of part 1 today of the Morning Deuce. For part 2, we're going to talk about how, I guess, even a very negative experience and what you would think would be the worst outcome can actually be very positive. I'm going to read a very quick article. If you guys know the running of the bulls, the sort of Hemingway mystique of Spain and Pamplona, the running of the bulls in Pamplona was last week. And this article came out and it said, quote, it's titled, quote, I've had best time ever, insists American gored in bull run. Matthew Lavin was gored through his left thigh on Wednesday morning as he ran with the bulls in Pamplona. The 39-year-old painter from New Jersey spoke to the local newspaper from his hospital bed in Pamplona just hours after receiving the injury during the penultimate run of the annual festival. I'm feeling all right, he says. All in all, it's been one of the experiences of my life. One of the best experiences of my life. He described the moment that the half-tone animal, a fighting bull named Illustrato, charged into him as he approached the town square. I was running, and I got caught up in some human traffic. I turned and saw the bull heading toward me, and I just thought, run faster, get out of the way. I had about 3 or 4 strides to get away, but I guess I didn't get out of the way quickly enough. As he tried to reach the safety of the barrier, the bull caught him and pierced his left thigh. Quote, I knew I'd been punctured, but at that moment, the adrenaline was so great that it didn't really hurt as much as it should have done. I didn't really realize it was so bad, he said. And then there's a YouTube video. You can actually watch it. Maybe I'll post that under this article, or under the Morning Deuce. Next, he was pulled under the barrier to safety, treated by Red Cross at the scene before being transferred to the ambulance and to a hospital. I've got 20 stitches in me, he said proudly. It's going to leave quite a scar. Doctors have told him that he can be discharged within 24 hours. I really hope so, he says, because there is still a day left of the fiesta, and with an injury like this comes a bit of fame. I'd like to be able to recount my experience. He insists that he will return one day to run again. Quote, I'm not going to let this put me off. I've had an amazing time in San Fermin, and running with the Bulls was one of the greatest experiences I've had in my life. I'd love to come back and run again, he said. I came knowing that if you run with the Bulls, you can get gored, and I thought about it 1,000 times before deciding to do it. I knew it could happen, and it did happen, and I'm lucky that I can walk away from it. End quote. So there you go. Matthew Lavin traveled to Spain, 39-year-old painter from New Jersey, to run with the Bulls, didn't run fast enough, got gored in the leg, and, chicks dig scars. So he wants to get out of the hospital to try to see if he can ride a couple lady bulls in Pamplona while he still can ride out that scar, because someday he's going to get back on the saddle again and just, ride the bull. Reminds me of that scene in Dodgeball when Ben Stiller's character is like, the painting's me grabbing a bull by the horns. It's a metaphor. And the guy's like, I know. And he's like, no, but that actually happened. Boom. That's Matthew, the painter from New Jersey. And with that, I leave you. Have a great day. Morning Deuce. Tell your hot friends.